and announce it, maybe like a minute after, so that way we have time to like make sure the stream doesn't look like garbage. Okay, so that's the link. My computer's totally going to crash. Okay, so that's not even a computer, it's a tablet. Oh. Okay, I was gonna put in announcements. All right, and using here so that way YouTube. Great. Boom. H. Okay, let's make sure that this is looking good. Let me just refresh it on my phone, just so I can see the stream. But on your end, you can hear me on the stream, right? Not just on your laptop, but like, oh, it appears that I am on stream. That's excellent. Okay, if everybody, hello, everybody. I cannot see my face right now, but apparently my face is being streamed. My name is Mosquito, and I'm joined here with Telu Poke, and we are the co-hosts for like Japan versus the World, the very first Generation 3 doubles international friendly. Just one moment for everybody. I need to post the YouTube into the Dawn server, and then we can start with everything to go. But Telu, would you like to tell a little bit about yourself?
Myself, okay, so I'm a Japanese player that has been playing third gen from how many years? Like 8-9 years. So let me talk about the Japanese community. So
okay,
like
cool.
So we know how like we started playing third gen after like third gen completely ended back in the day. So like about like 9-10 years ago, so there's like a group of people who just like it to RNG people, RNG Pokemons in game with no reason of like even using. So I was one of that group. So we just like to RNG like Gale of Darkness Zapdos with like perfect nature, but like we didn't have like any place to use it. So we decided to hold a tournament so we have a place to use them.
Yeah.
So that's the start of our offline tournament called Kudofu, and that was hosted by a different person named Kudoyan, so it came from his name. So, and I don't know. So a lot of people started from like just wanting to RNG stupid stuff and use it in a battle, but also there were a few people who originally played third gen and Pokemon Online. It's like really old version of Showdown. Like I think it's not that famous, but like there's like an online like unofficial Pokemon battling service or something, and like they joined us and we started to build a community, and it's still continuing right now. And I don't know. First time there was like only 10 people in that offline meeting, but right now there's like 20 or 30 or ish people. So I think it's become bigger in Japan.
Yeah. Okay, so that sounds like an amazing story. Just starting off, so I find it interesting. I imagined that it would be like a lot of Gen 3 veterans just like battling for fun, and then would come to RNG and like getting better at it. But you all started with the collecting the Pokemon first, and then you wanted to use it.
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah, so it's the other way around. It's not I want to battle and I need to work to battle. It's I worked so hard, now I need a reason to use it.
So it's like 9-10 years ago was the first time where Gale of Darkness was able to RNG on retail.
Yeah,
So,
because I
like,
know
yeah,
it used
so
to be only RNGable on emulator, and then
Yeah.
now we can RNG on retail, which is cool.
on retail. So like everyone wanted to try it, and we tried it. Like then like where are you gonna use them? You know?
Yeah, like what else do you have to do with like Metal Sound Zapdos or Will-O-Wisp like Moltres?
Yeah.
So that's an amazing introduction, and there have been a lot of these in-person tournaments that I've seen, like live Japanese tournaments. The Western scene, on the other hand, we don't have the luxury of being able to meet up with each other the way you can in Japan. So we instead, for the most part, Gen 3 seems just to be like a personal thing. Sometimes you emulate, but not really battles outside of like 6v6 singles.
Mhm.
But Akiak, one of our admins, actually wanted to have a more doubles-oriented Generation 3 experience. And so they ended up like looking for possible rules. Because they were sick of we have like 6v6 doubles. And actually, I think Orre is more popular than 6v6 Gen 3 doubles now. And so Akiak founded the server, and it started very small, but then Niko and I joined, and it was just the three of us battling like constantly and nobody else. But eventually, like it grew bigger and bigger as we had more tournaments, and now we had our largest tournament 2 months ago. Orre Cup 10 was 64 players, which is incredible. And it's just been a really great time. Our Discord server has a lot of people interested in Generation 3. We do use Simulator because that's the easiest way to battle between each other from different countries and different states. The goal we tried earlier, but it's really hard because you need the computer capacity, is to use emulators. And we were able to do a couple of emulator matches, but it doesn't work for tournaments because that requires everybody to just have the emulator, which is really difficult to troubleshoot during a tournament. So it makes for a bad tournament experience, but a fun like, oh, let's like do an emulator battle and see how it actually should look like. Because Pokemon XD is beautiful. I think the animations look better than Scarlet and Violet. So that's where we are today. We have a huge community of Generation 3 double battlers. We're really invested in this format. And after meeting you and Hunter, when Grandma's Cooking and I met you and Hunter in Japan, I read all those team reports, and I'm very excited to see how the battles are going to go.
Me too, yeah.
With that being said, let's get started. I think everybody's ready for pairings. I'm going to announce it into the Dawn server. So I am going onto random.org, and I am going to enter the players, and it's just going to be randomized. So it's truly random, and this will be the order. First, we're doing Team Japan, and then we will do Team Rest of the World. So I'm just going to copy paste. I'm going to press randomize, and then I'm just going to copy paste this.
Oh yeah, before that, can you like tweet the YouTube channel to Twitter so we can?
I did, but I think it counts as an embed, right? Like you could click on it. It says youtube.com on my Twitter.
Okay. Found it.
It's just like the link disappeared, but it seems Hope Flygon reposted. So I think that should be good.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so now I have it randomly. Order of Team Japan. Boom. They won't let me copy paste it into. They won't let me copy paste it into. Let me just only put the player names. It won't let me do the whole thing. But trust that I'm using random.com. I can send a screenshot
no problem
later. Yeah. in Discord, but it's oh my gosh, why is what I don't like about Showdown is it's really hard to type chat. Boom. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna put this on Showdown, or I will send the image to. Yeah, I'm just gonna copy that and put it into general. Apologies, everybody, if this is not showing up on Dawn, but that's the order for Team Japan, and I will now go randomize the order for Team World. And the order that it's going to be, the first player will face the first player, the second player will face the second player, and then that'll be it. So, all right. So, time to announce it. Unfortunately, I can't type this out very quickly. If anybody wants to type this into the Dawn chat, go ahead. But the order for Team Japan is Missingno, Hunter, Sunadori, Ohohoho, and Stoic. And the order for Team World will be Sabaku, Niko, Yosi, Grandma's Cooking, for 4LOM, and Akiak. So the players will face each other in that order. So the very first match will be Missingno versus Sabaku, followed by Hunter versus Niko Yosi, followed by Sunadori versus Grandma's Cooking, followed by Uohoho versus 44LOM, and then Stoic versus Akiak to round it off. So all further communications
Yeah, typing in.
will be undone. All right, we could start this. Hello, trainers. First match will be Missingno versus Sabaku. I just have to type this out. It's really annoying. You can't put so many lines of text into Dawn, into Showdown. The world. Round 1, Missingno versus Sabaku. Round 2, Hunter versus Niko. Okay, excellent. So we're gonna wait until the match starts, but our very first matchup is going to be Missingno, or Aqua, a Japanese player who actually joined our server and has been participating in tournaments, versus Sabaku, who is a regional champion from VGC and also joined the server as of recently. While we're waiting to start, I think we can go over like their achievements. I have it on that list, and when it's ready to start, I'll need the link. But oh, actually, they're about to start. So,
Yeah.
Niko, do you have the link open? Yeah. Okay. Okay. But anyway, going over the players, on one hand, we have Missingno, and who had joined our server recently and participated in both Orre Cup 10, which is regular format, and Orre Cup 11, which used the Journey Across America with as many restricteds as you want. Missingno has a rating of 1176 on our ladder, and recently got 9th place, just barely missing the top cut at Orre Cup 11. To compete against Missingno is Sabaku, whose notable achievements also joined recently, attended Orre Cup 10, and actually got 3rd place after only playing the format for like a week. And within that week, proceeded to get number 1 on our ladder. So Sabaku for a while was the number 1 rated player in our format, and literally only played for like a week before a big tournament getting 3rd place. Sabaku, in addition, is a longtime VGC player, won the Georgia Regional in 2015 for VGC 2015. That in itself is an incredible accomplishment, and a lot of the skill seems to have carried over to Generation 3 doubles. With that said, What do we have on our opposing teams, Telu? What 6 Pokemon? What do you think about the teams that both have brought?
It's interesting that Missingno didn't put any of the Latis.
Oh yeah, there are no Latis. It's actually there's only the 2 legendaries are underutilized legendaries. It's Moltres and Suicune. So I think it's the team looks like it's being very focused with Marowak's Lightning Rod to protect the Suicune and the Moltres.
Yeah.
There's also a Sceptile, which is really cool. On Sabaku's end, this is actually the exact team of 6 that Sabaku used to defeat me in Orre Cup 10. It's the very standard Metagross Lati Zapdos combo with a Gengar, a Tauros, and notably a Moltres to counter Metagross. That was really difficult for me to deal with, and I ended up losing the match, and that led to Sabaku making top cut. Looking at the pairings, like immediately it's noticeable. There's no Lati, there's no Zapdos. Missingno is relying heavily on this Marowak to counter the Zapdos, so then Suicune can set up. And in terms of water resist, the only water resist that Sabaku has is a Latias. I do not believe the Sceptile will be of much use here. Simply, it can deal damage to Gengar with Crunch, Latias with Crunch, depending on what moveset it has. It can outspeed Tauros, but it's not doing anything against Meta Lati Zap and Moltres, and which would especially be useful because that Zapdos would be probably brought to take on the Suicune and the Moltres if Marowak can be removed. So again, Sabaku seems to have a more standard team with the exception of Moltres, which seems to be put there to counter Metagross, and Missingno using a very unconventional team built around Lightning Rod. Niko, is everything ready? Is the stream ready to go? All right, excellent. All right, we'll get into the battle. I'm going to signal it. Japan. This is the very beginning of the first international match 1. Missingno versus Sabaku. Trainers may begin. And we're gonna start. Oh no, class said something about the stream not running, but the stream is on, so maybe I sent the right link, the wrong link. So we are not using timer simply because Japanese players have to deal with translations. Also, I believe Telu, there's no timer when you play live battles, right? Since
No
you're playing,
timer.
No timer.
Well, we have like a timer of the room, so like the room ends in like 8:00 in the evening, so you need to finish every tournament until that time. So like
Oh, okay.
you can rush a little bit, but like there's no really exact timer. So
yeah. All right, and we're going to go game 1. We have Sabaku leading with Moltres Latias, and Missingno leads with Metagross Gengar. Immediately, I think Sabaku has the momentum here because Moltres threatens the 1-hit KO on Metagross, and Latias, depending on what it's carrying, it might Psychic the Gengar, it might threaten a Thunder Wave into the Gengar, and on the flip side, Missingno's threats are a Metagross that can explode and a Gengar that can explode.
True.
What is Niko? Oh, so like when okay, so when something appears on the stream, it takes 3 seconds before the audio. Okay, or understood. Okay, all right, so and turn 1. Sabaku having that momentum just goes for the really threatening plays. A very simple Fire Blast into the Metagross slot. Missingno counters with a good switch into Suicune. It does not burn. And Gengar protects into a Psychic Latias. Now, Psychic Latias is not something that we've seen in a really long time. I believe Telu, right? All the Japanese players are running support Latias with Dragon Claw and like
Yeah,
Slide or
so
Icy
I
Wind,
really
stuff like
don't
that.
see Psychic much, so it's so weird for us.
Yeah, so that's like really weird. I used Psychic Latias earlier in the format just because I hated Gengar that much that I'd rather risk 50% chance to beat Explosion. I believe in Orre Cup, most of the Latias didn't run Psychic. They ran, again, Dragon Claw, maybe Ice Beam, and just a bunch of support moves. And we have turn 2 going up. Latias using that very powerful light screen that was proven in the Orre Cup tournament. Screens are incredibly useful, especially in a best of 3 when you like figure out like what the opponent is using and like what if they're tending towards physical or special. You could just like if you see they're leading like 3 special mons, you just click light screen. So Sabaku is setting up the light screen just to make Gengar and Suicune, both of which are on the field, very irrelevant. Suicune going for that Calm Mind, boosting its stats. It does take some turns. Even at +1/+1, Suicune isn't that threatening, especially with the light screen. And Moltres is using hidden power that's super effective. Ooh. I don't know what type that is, but I'm going to take a guess that it is Grass just to take on Swampert. Turn 3 begins, and we get a Moltres protecting and a Latias using Thunder Wave just to slow down the Suicune and to paralyze it, and a light screen Metagross.
Oh wow.
I have never seen screens on Metagross before. This is really weird. The advantage, yeah, like that's a really cool tech.
Haven't seen a lot because like if you use light screen Metagross, your Metagross can't use like some useful attacks. So like you're losing some of its Metagross's useful part.
Yeah, like it can't explode, for example. But in this case, Tauros switching out, and then the light screen proves itself useful. The Fire Blast goes into Metagross and does not KO it because of the light screen. Both players have light screen, and on the flip side, Suicune using Hydro Pump does not KO the Moltres. So in both cases, the light screens have prevented a one-hit KO, which is exactly the point of screens in order to extend your longevity. I do wonder what this Tauros switch-in was for. I don't believe like Latias, like Metagross can threaten Tauros. Maybe going for an Earthquake choice band the next turn, assuming that there's no explosion because it was the light screen was set up. And we go into turn 5, get that Earthquake, threatening the damage onto Metagross. Gengar switches out to prevent that Metagross from getting Fire Blast or Earthquake again, and the Thunder Wave paying off. Suicune is paralyzed. Yes. Okay. Understood. Okay, so we'll wait for turn to end. So again, I think Sabaku just has more momentum because Missingno has to keep switching, has that Metagross that's under pressure. Now that there's a Tauros safely on the field, it can deal big damage. Gengar, of course, is immune to Tauros. And since almost every Tauros, actually, I think literally every single Tauros ever runs Choice Band because Person Berry Tauros isn't that strong. Missingno does have the advantage of like can take advantage of that choice lock Tauros. Gengar is immune to it, and Gengar can actually possibly threaten a KO on Moltres, giving some momentum back to Missingno. And the Tauros switches for the Latias. Oh, sorry.
Too fast.
Too fast. So with that in mind, we have the Gengar being in a useful position when Latias or Metagross isn't threatening it. To begin turn 6, it's a double switch from Sabaku, trying presumably to get the Tauros to be more useful later on rather than locking into Earthquake, since it's locked into Earthquake. And the Moltres switches out to the Zapdos, maybe to keep it surviving an additional turn, not get KO'd by Gengar. And Gengar now reveals Will-O-Wisp as the anti-Tauros, anti-Snorlax tech. And Suicune doesn't have anything better to do. It clicks Icy Wind. Perhaps Missingno expected a Protect or a Switch Out from Moltres. So Missingno opted not to go for Hydro Pump. I think this is a really good back and forth between both players. Like, neither player has gotten a strong foothold where they can like roll over with the game. Gengar so far has revealed Protect and Will-O-Wisp. It may have other attacks, but we don't know yet. And I think it does have the advantage of possibly exploding. We don't know if it has Explosion or not, but if it could explode, that would be really big to eliminate both Zapdos and Latias. With turn 7, we have the Suicune switching out to Marowak, presumably to just absorb a Thunderbolt from Zapdos and make it almost useless. Gengar does reveal the Ice Punch, which actually critical hits through Light Screen. So normally it would have done maybe 30%, but now it does 67%. And Latias, again, trying to Psychic here. It's a very bulky Gengar. That Gengar just took a Psychic from Latias. Either Latias has no special attack investment or Gengar is bulky or both. And Zapdos revealed...
Light Screen last turn, so that's the reason.
Oh, Gengar had Light Screen. Oh, whoops. Yeah. Oh, I mixed up the Light Screens. It's Sabaku's didn't have Light Screen, so would have taken 30% from Ice Punch anyway. And then the Light Screen protecting the Gengar from the KO. Again, Light Screen showing how valuable it is in extending longevity of the team. And I think it's interesting to note that Zapdos was neutral with this hidden power against Gengar, which means it's most likely hidden power Ice and not hidden power Grass. This would mean that Zapdos has one less tool against Suicune, especially if Marowak is on the field. Latias switching out from Moltres, and with that, it avoiding a KO again. It's a very methodical game for both players. The Ice Punch deals very little damage. I don't think this Gengar has investment in special attack. Zapdos get to KO. Finally, Gengar is taken down, and Marowak revealing Rock Tomb. That is an interesting move.
Haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either. Usually it's Ancient Power, Hidden Power Rock, or Hidden Power Ghost. Rock Tomb, the problem with Rock Tomb compared to future generations is that it has 80% accuracy in Generation 3. So you can miss your Rock Tomb, unlike Ancient Power, and it has very low power too. You get the speed reduction, but I think on a Pokemon like Marowak, Rock Tomb isn't so much for the Marowak, it's for its teammates. Because Marowak will still be slower than a Zapdos, even after a speed reduction. Still, maybe a very creative way to enable Suicune or even Metagross to do some very big damage. With turn 9, we have that Zapdos switching out to Latias. Marowak protects itself, as Marowak often does, because Marowak, as the metagame has progressed, Marowak has been less of a damage dealer and more of a lightning rod robot. Moltres trying to get damage into the Marowak, and Suicune getting a KO, and now both players have 3 Pokemon remaining. Tauros comes back in, and notably Missingno no longer has a ground immunity. So I believe Tauros is free to just click Earthquake for the rest of the game, especially because Zapdos is the final Pokemon for Sabaku. This looks like a really tough position for Missingno.
Yeah,
and
true.
I'm wondering what would be a way out of it. Perhaps a critical hit Boomerang, or like Icy Wind Protect or with Metagross. This Earthquake just looks really threatening from the Tauros. Yeah, I don't see an easy way out. We'll see how much damage this Tauros does if it does choose to Earthquake, and then but I don't see any reason Sabaku can't just click Earthquake 3 times and then win the game. There's no immunities, which is one of the big reasons why we use Latis and Zapdos in the first place. As expected, the Tauros goes for a choice band Earthquake. It gets the KO. It gets, with this Latias Psychic, it gets the KO on Metagross, and the game is basically over. One more Earthquake should finish the game, and Missingno will lose. Missingno will lose the first game. The first game will go to Sabaku. It is a best of 3, however, and Missingno has the opportunity to adjust. So we're going to go into game 2. Tello, what do you think would be a good adjustment for Missingno to, possibly handle this Tauros, which seems to be like the strongest problem in the previous match?
Hard. I think the Gengar needs to hit the Will-O-Wisp somehow.
Yeah, definitely. Like, if the Gengar can get the Will-O-Wisp onto the Tauros can't do anything, in fact. I do wonder if I think the Suicune Marowak combination was a good call, just because you can threaten the Moltres, and you can, if the Marowak has Hidden Power Ghost, then maybe we'd be able to just take out Latias, take out Gengar, Bone Meringue the Metagross. The Intimidate does look really annoying against the Marowak, but I think as long as Suicune can set up Calm Mind and doesn't get too much Earthquake damage, it should be fine. So I imagine on Missingno's side, Suicune, Marowak, Gengar, and then something else. Perhaps Moltres, because it isn't as easily Earthquaked, or like overheated, or Fire Blasted, rather, by opposing Moltres, might be a good substitution. But we will see. We've got 5 people in. And I will give the go-ahead. All right, good luck, trainers. Yeah! So I do think Missingno might have to adjust just to make sure it isn't Earthquake prone. On Sabaku's end, there was quite a bit of switching needed, and that loses turns. I do think that the Psychic on Latias is very powerful just because it deals neutral damage onto the Suicune, onto the Marowak. It hits Super Friggin' and Gengar if the light screen doesn't go up. But again, in order to get the light screen, Metagross has to click it, and Metagross can't click light screen if it gets 1 KO'd by Tauros, which just, again, seems to be a very threatening turn 1 option to just scare off any Metagross. And we have the beginning of Game 2, Round 1, Game 2. Missingno leads with the Metagar combo again, threatening possible explosions, though I believe with Light Screen on the Metagross, it doesn't have explosion. Probably not. And Sabaku leads with Moltres Tauros. The Moltres has revealed Fire Blast, Hidden Power, presumably Grass, Protect, and Flamethrower. So this Moltres does not have Will-O-Wisp, it does not have Substitute, and Tauros is Choice Band. And then, again, Sabaku has the more threatening damage just because of the Moltres threatening into the Metagross, and Tauros might have problems with Gengar, but it also has Hidden Power Ghost. Speaking of which, turn 1 begins, and again, Sabaku just goes for very straightforward plays. Fire move into the Metagross and a Hidden Power Ghost into the Gengar, which does not KO. That Gengar is trained defensively or in HP, and the Gengar misses the Will-O-Wisp, which is an enormous negative downside.
Oh my god.
So the one thing Missingno has to stop this Tauros It just missed. and now Gengar's at very low HP. It will not take another hidden power ghost. Turn 2 happens really quickly, and Sabaku, probably predicting that the Gengar might protect or switch, just switches out to Zapdos. It's already done its job. Gengar, it might get Will-O-Wisp too. So switching to Zapdos, and that Gengar also switching to Marowak to tank some, and Moltres switching out to Latias probably to get a better positioning on the Suicune. So now Latias, Zapdos have decent positioning because they can threaten Psychic and Hidden Power into the Marowak, and the Suicune gets a Calm Mind. I actually think after all of those switches and the repositioning, that Missingno is in a pretty good position because Marowak can protect, Zapdos can't do anything because it's probably Hidden Power Ice, and all Suicune does is click Calm Mind, and then it could possibly sweep Sabaku's team as long as it doesn't get one KO'd. But I don't even think it can get one KO'd by Tauros though. And then as long as Marowak's on the field, Zapdos can't KO Suicune. So with turn 3, the Zapdos being really afraid and possibly fearing an Icy Wind, predicting Marowak to protect, does not go for Hidden Power Ice into Marowak. Just goes for a D-Tech Light Screen to increase longevity, so that way they can tank Suicune better. Suicune gets that Calm Mind that it desperately needs in order to be more useful, and Marowak's Rock Tomb does no damage. This is going to be a very slow match between the Light Screen and the Calm Mind and the Calm Mind and the Marowak and the Protect. I wonder if Sabaku has good counterplay, maybe Earthquake with Tauros. Speaking of which, with turn 4, does switch into the Tauros, and Marowak protecting to make sure that the Latias, which finally reveals its 4th move, it has Ice Beam. So now we know the Latias is Psychic, Light Screen, Thunderwave, Ice Beam. It does not have Protect, and now there's damage potential into the Marowak, even more damage potential. And on the flip side, Suicune's now at +2/+2. It did have an Icy Wind, reducing the speed of the Tauros. And if it's trained correctly, it can probably outrun the Tauros and possibly KO'd with Hydro Pump. But there's a Light Screen. Ice Beam. Marowak switches out for Gengar just so that way it can take some, possibly that Ice Beam, just because so that to preserve Marowak against the Zapdos. Very defensive play. Suicune not going for any damage, big damage on Tauros, instead going for another Icy Wind, possibly because of that Light Screen. Maybe Missingno knows that Hydro Pump might not KO. And Tauros using the Earthquake as a way to bypass Marowak and deal damage on it. It dealt 30%. That's a choice band Tauros. It dealt 30%. It'll take, between leftovers, it'll take about 4 turns to knock out that Suicune. So the Suicune's a really good position. We have, just between Sabaku's 4 Pokemon, Zapdos and Tauros need to be preserved, and then Latias and Moltres need to get rid of the Marowak so Zapdos can come in and threaten a KO on Suicune. That's the only way Sabaku's breaking through this Suicune, is if Marowak gets removed. And speaking of which, Tauros switches out for Moltres, possibly just to reset the speed drops. Suicune goes for yet another Icy Wind. Suicune does not seem to care about knocking out Tauros. It just wants to deal damage to the Latias. And Latias trying to remove the Marowak. It just becomes a game of Marowak protecting, and if Zapdos is not on the field, switching out. The thing is, since Marowak protected, it's less likely to protect this turn because it would only have a 50% success rate. So Sabaku does have the option to just double into the Marowak. There is a Metagross in the back, so if Sabaku goes for, say, Flamethrower into Marowak and Ice Beam to Marowak, it covers both Marowak staying in and the switch into Metagross. With Moltres and -1 speed, however, this Suicune might just KO with a Hydro Pump. So, depending on how the Suicune is trained, and depending on the trainer's choices, perhaps Moltres protects and Latias clicks crazy Thunderwave. Or perhaps Hydro Pump misses or Fire Blast misses. We don't know. And there is the light screen, which may help Sabaku's longevity. With turn 7, Sabaku switching out the Moltres to Zapdos, possibly to preserve it longer in the face of Hydro Pump. Hydro Pump misses, which is a big downside of Hydro Pump, possibly the only good water move in all of Generation 3. Waterfall has a mere 80 power, and all the water types do not have very high special attack. So Hydro Pump is often preferred. However, it does have 8 PP, it does have low accuracy, and again, with the miss into Zapdos, that Hydro Pump, I believe, is currently at... it's only used it once, right? The Hydro Pump currently has 6 PP. So Sabaku might pursue a strategy of just waiting until Hydro Pump runs out of PP and then just safely getting Moltres onto the field. Hidden Power removing the Latias is sort of big because that removes a Marowak, another damage dealer in a Marowak, but Sabaku now gets to switch in Tauros. And I can't help but feel Missingno's protecting Marowak is really telegraphed. The Zapdos can't deal damage to Suicune, so it probably just goes for Hidden Power Ice. Maybe it substitutes. And Tauros can go for a Double Edge for more damage, or it can just go on Earthquake to try to remove Marowak faster and call maybe a Metagross switch in. I think this Suicune is looking very powerful. And if Sabaku can't find a way around the Marowak, and that's going to be probably a game if everything goes according to plan. And with the end of turn 8, Sabaku opting for the very powerful Choice Band Tauros Double Edge, one of the strongest moves in Generation 3 doubles. It deals 60%, which normally Tauros would be KOing a lot of Pokemon. However, against Suicune, it still deals a lot of damage and helps take it down eventually, but it only deals 60%. Or rather, it does 60%. Whether or not is a lot is up to you. And because Missingno chose not to use the really safe Protect, Marowak just faints. Marowak just faints. And now it's Suicune Metagross versus Tauros Zapdos. This looks pretty bad for Missingno.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on the Suicune speed wars, if Suicune outruns Tauros and Zapdos, it might be able to pull off something. Metagross probably outruns Tauros, depending if it's trained in speed. The Metagross can possibly just KO the Tauros or the Zapdos. We did see Light Screen on Metagross, so assuming standard moves, the Metagross is probably Meteor Mash, Earthquake, Protect, Light Screen. In which case, it would not be able to KO the Zapdos. It might be able to KO the Tauros with a Meteor Mash, and then possibly this Hydro Pump might KO the Zapdos if Suicune's faster. Alternatively, Missingno can just go for Protect Explosion. All right, Icy Wind, missing the Zapdos, which might matter. Zapdos Thunderbolting the Metagross, calling a Suicune Protect. A Suicune Protect. And a Light Screen coming from Metagross, helping to improve longevity versus Zapdos. With the Icy Wind, Suicune, I think, still outruns all of Sabaku's team, so it's not over yet. I'm really excited to see, with no Light Screen on Sabaku's team, if the Suicune just won a KO's Pokemon. Like, for example, the Suicune can go for a Hydro Pump, KO the Zapdos, protect the Metagross, and then possibly do something else. Then, of course, the Tauros would come back in and it would Earthquake, but I think we saw Earthquake did about 30% to Suicune, so Suicune could tank the Earthquake. Metagross would not survive, of course. With turn 10, Sabaku protecting the Moltres from a Hydro Pump, very scared of the Hydro Pump. Suicune opting not to Hydro Pump the Zapdos, instead trying to get rid of the Moltres so that way Metagross can survive another hit because the Metagross can survive the Thunderbolt, and a Thunder Wave going in just to undo all of the speed reductions from Icy Wind, and Suicune getting the Icy Wind, knocking out the Zapdos. However, it's too little too late. This Tauros is going to switch in, it's going to Double Edge, and the match is going to be over. This Suicune cannot take on Tauros. With that, I'm going to call it. Missingno just did say good games, which means, and we have a return revealed at the very last turn. With a 2-0 lead. 0-2. With a 2-0 game, Sabaku takes the first point for Team World. I think that was a really close game one, and I think game two would have been really close, and then the Marowak just didn't protect. I think if the Marowak protected on that crucial turn, the Suicune might have just run away with the game. It looked really scary for Sabaku. Missingno had a very commanding position, but then when the Marowak fainted, a lot of the possible moves disappeared. With that, we have game one. We have. Oh, I should save the games. Oops. Apologies. I know it's recorded, but it's probably better for me to save the games. Okay. Yeah. This is. Download this. And with that, I think we could start our next match. So round two, I believe, is. We have another streamer.
That's nice.
Apparently, there's another streamer. So, but this is the official Orre stream with Niko Yosi hosting, Orre admin, and of course, I'm providing comment. Round two is going to be Hunter versus Niko Yosi. Okay. Whoops. 05750 Niko. So this is going to be cool. We have two more very accomplished trainers. I faced Hunter in Yokohama, but Telu, would you like to talk about Hunter's achievements by any chance? Since I know Hunter is very, very active in the community and very, very, very active on Twitter.
Okay, Hunter has been playing third gen after like two or three times of the Kudofu, so like I don't know, like 7-8 years or a little more than that.
Ooh,
and
long time.
Yeah, so like Kudofu usually plays single battles, but like, and recently we haven't done any doubles, but like a couple of years ago we did like doubles like twice or 30 times, and when there's a double tournament, Hunter always ended choosing to enter the double format, so I guess he has some kind of, knowledge to doubles and really active that there's in third gen there's not only like double singles or oraculars or a format, but like there's a bunch of other ways of playing, like playing with only Ruby and Sapphire format, and like
ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so like he plays a bunch of these formats and he RNGs and breeds a bunch of Pokemon. So the reason why he was able to battle in Worlds was because he had level 100 Pokemons or playing in tournament using Kyogre and Rayquaza and Groudon.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah,
that's the reason why. That's the reason why he had like all these level 100s to be able to battle like Grandma's and
those
me.
were trained for like Rayquaza and like Kyogre format, but like that's the reason why he has a bunch of Pokemon in his.
And like they were very facing Hunter in Yokohama is was using, I think, what's called the standard Snorlax that was used in this one tournament, one of the Kudo offs. Peanuts, I believe Peanuts made the team. It's like Snorlax, but it has like 196 speed EVs. and facing Hunter, I was like, oh no, I need to get big damage, and I just one KO'd the Snorlax, and it's because the Snorlax was running so much speed. We'll see if that happens in today's game, but yeah, Hunter, active player it seems, and actually has quite a few double life matchups. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. All right. Made two. We'll just. I'll finish. I'll do your intro, and then I think you two. I'll give the signal for you to start. Just make sure to mute me, so that way you don't hear me telling exactly what to do in order to win the game. What I mean is, like, if you mute the computer, I know that means you wouldn't be able to hear music, but yeah, if you like mute your own computer, it's not, instead of muting me, just like unplug your speaker or whatever. But I think that, yeah, but as long as the stream works, or you just wear earplugs. This is something I actually didn't think of. Like, oh, Niko's playing and streaming, so he'll end up having to deal with the headache of both. But we're just gonna wait a little longer. But while Niko is double checking on the sound, I would like to introduce. So Hunter, very strong player from Japan. Facing against Niko Yosi, who is debatably the best player in all of Orre, besides me. Niko Yosi, one of the founders, one of the three admins, and like basically, like if Akiak is the founder, Niko's the one that really started. Because all Niko would do all day is ping every single day, hey, who wants to battle? Who wants to battle? Who wants to battle? And then I showed up and I just play against Niko every day. Niko was also the person who organized the very first Orre Cup, and the Orre Cups were his idea. Niko has a long list of accomplishments, a lot of second places in Orre Cup, and has won our largest tournament so far, Orre Cup 10, the 64-player Generation 3 tournament. In addition to having the highest ladder rating and having possibly the most amount of top cuts in this format, Niko also got second place at a VGC tournament last year in 2023 using a Palafin team. So very strong player. Yep.
Oh yes.
All right. But yeah, that's the introduction. Are you ready, Niko? Oh, you could just. I think maybe we. Okay. All right. So just yeah, you can mute, and I'll just start. Just make sure you can't hear. Hey, Niko, can you hear me? Did you know I'm better at you than you at this format? Okay. Niko would have said something. All right. So I think we're ready. So Japan versus the world. Match 2. Hunter versus Niko. Game 1. Good luck, trainers. All right. So looking at the trainers' teams, Niko using double Lattes, Metagross, Snorlax, Moltres instead of Zapdos. Sorry, that's Hunter's team. Double Lattes, Metagross, Snorlax, Moltres instead of Zapdos, and a Rhydon, presumably to protect the Moltres Lightning Rod. And Niko going with standard Meta Lati Zap, Tauros as its normal type, Starmie, and Persian. Have you ever seen a Persian before, Talu?
Nope.
Persian is Niko's favorite Pokemon, and he tried using it at the beginning of the format, and it was terrible. But I think last week, he went on the ladder and faced me in a game, and I was using one of the strongest teams I have called Fundamentals. And Niko went 4-0 against me using Persian. all he did was click hypnosis, fake out, hypnosis, double edge, hypnosis, double edge, and I lost 4-0. And I didn't respect Persian, but it is very important to note that Persian is one of the fastest sleep Pokemon, even though Hypnosis has 55 accuracy, or 60, I forget, one or the other in Gen 3. I think it's 55. It's Hypnosis can shut down an entire Pokemon, and if you get lucky, you can get 4 or 5 turns of sleep, and that's basically worse than a KO. You'd rather have your Pokemon be KO'd than put to sleep for 5 turns. So Persian threatening the Hypnosis, very scary depending on if Hunter has Lum on any of his Pokemon. However, Niko doesn't know where the Lum berry is. Starmie also very fast at base 115 speed. Both it and Persian actually outrun the Latias, so Persian does not necessarily have to go for Hypnosis. You can go for Double Edge Ice Beam into Latias and KO it. Starmie can threaten the Hydro Pump and the Moltres and KO it. Persian can fake out, and Starmie can deal big damage. I think Niko, just by virtue of having faster Pokemon, is in a very threatening position, and Hunter has to make interesting adjustments, like hard reads. Has to predict whether Niko is going to go fake out, or Ice Beam Double Edge, or fake out Hydro Pump, or random Hypnosis, and just has to hard call the turn. I don't think there is a safest move for Hunter, just because Persian and Starmie are so fast. On the flip side, this Moltres can just one-hit KO the Persian, because Persian has basically no bulk. The Latias can Thunder Wave the team, making Starmie and Persian, which have relatively low bulk, into taking away their one usefulness, which is their speed. And there still is the question of what's in the back for Hunter. If it's a Snorlax, I think it could just safely take on Starmie and Persian. And the last thing to note is we play with Sleep Claws in Orre, because the in-game mode does not permit the AI to sleep more than one Pokemon. So Niko, for as powerful as Hypnosis is, can just threaten the Hypnosis once, and then that's it. And Hunter is free to just play around it and just use the other 3 Pokemon to take on Niko's team. With turn 1, we have the Moltres switching out for a Snorlax, predicting a Hydro Pump. The Persian goes for a Fake Out, and the Starmie critical hits the Latias. This is big. Starmie cannot KO Latias. It cannot deal 85% damage with Ice Beam. Only, usually with no bulk, Starmie would deal 50%-ish, maybe 55% to a no bulk Latias. If Latias has a lot of bulk, it will deal 45%, maybe less. And so with that Ice Beam critical hit, Niko just gained a KO, and Hunter literally has no compensation. No damage was dealt that turn because of the switch to Snorlax. Latias is gone, which means that the team is more prone to Earthquake from Tauros and Metagross. In exchange, Hunter's position doesn't look too bad. The Metagross resists Persian Double Edge. I don't think Persian has hidden power fire or anything. Starmie can only 2-hit KO Metagross if Metagross is might be able to 2-hit KO Metagross, but I don't think Starmie Persian can KO Metagross. I don't think Starmie Persian can KO Snorlax. And Hunter is threatening an explosion. Either from Metagross or Snorlax is threatening big damage with possible Snorlax Double Edge or Shadow Ball. We do not know if the Metagross is Choice Band. We do not know if the Snorlax is Choice Band. So we're going to see, since Niko can't KO the Metagross or the Snorlax, then maybe just Niko has to go for big damage and then Hypnosis and then play a slow game. Does Hunter have a way to win?
I don't know. Critical hit?
I think that Starmie might be holding a scope lens. Maybe it has Lucky Chant or something, because it just got a second critical hit. And what I said about not being able to KO Metagross, that assumes that's no critical hit. Metagross just got KO'd. I've heard from Akiak not to delay anymore, so I think it's safe to just say it as the turn goes. We have Hypnosis onto the Snorlax, making it useless. It's burned 1 out of 1 turn of sleep, and it can be asleep for 1 to 5 turns. This Moltres is threatened by 80% chance of Hydro Pump when if it hits, it 1 KOs presumably, and this Persian can go double edge onto Snorlax for free. So Hunter's odds look bleak. Perhaps Protect with Moltres and Self-Destruct with Snorlax, get rid of Starmie Persian, and then hope that Niko's back is like Metagross, like Zapdos. But we just see Starmie go for Hydro Pump. It does not miss. There's no Protect explosion here. Hydro Pump doesn't miss. It's over. It's over. Niko has 4 Pokemon against Snorlax, and I do not have faith in Snorlax to take out 4 Pokemon. It simply does not have enough turns. Despite its bulk, it would not be able to get enough. It can't, unless it gets critical hits, and Niko makes a mistake and clicks Hypnosis or something, and it misses, and Hydro Pump misses. It's just too little too late. 4v1, the Snorlax is not finding its way around. And that's basically game 1 over. Niko just 4-0'd Hunter with a Persian. In fact, Hunter only got 1 attack off. Oh, wait. Hunter got no attacks off.
Yeah, he didn't do anything.
It was all double edge recoil, right?
Yeah, every Pokemon was critical hit and KO'd, and he just switched Pokemon.
That's actually really nutty. This is really scary, and I'm half tempted to say that Persian is a legitimate threat. We have it ranked. Actually, I don't think we have it ranked. I think we ranked it D or something and removed it off the list. But we're going to be going into game 2. Where's game 2? Oh, they have to confirm. Okay. Going into game... Why is it not opening? Oh, they still have to... But anyway, with that, I think there's not much Hunter could have done. Those were 2 critical hits that happened at the worst possible times. Simply put, Hunter got unlucky. And this is why we play best of 3s in Orre. In fact, we usually play best of 5 for whenever possible, but time restrictions usually keep us to best of 3 in tournaments, in early stages of tournaments. But luck happens. A lot of Generation 3 is just speed ties and critical hits. Round 2, game 2. And now we have to see how Hunter is going to adjust to dealing with a Persian. Thinking about it for a moment, so it depends on what Hunter has as the Lumberry. If there's a Lumberry on Hunter's team, he should be using it as the lead and then hoping to surprise Persian with Hypnosis. I do think Metagross Snorlax is also a powerful lead here just because it would not be able to get KO'd by Persian plus Starmie. So you don't have to worry about reading your opponent. You just click moves and you deal damage. Starmie especially does not have... It has a strong matchup versus Moltres and against Rhydon and to an extent Latias. But Snorlax just walls Starmie. And if Persian has to commit to a 60% Hypnosis onto Snorlax and waste a turn trying to prevent Snorlax from doing anything, that's 1 free turn for Lati to do something. So I think we'll see... We'll see how Hunter can adjust to this. But that Persian is very scary here with Starmie, and Tauros also at high speed. I do not believe that Rhydon will be making an appearance, though. Starmie and just looks too scary. I suppose if you're very creative with like predictions, maybe. But not having Zapdos is a really big deal for Hunter. Normally, Starmie's biggest problem is that Zapdos is on almost every team and threatens a 1 KO on Starmie, and usually it's a trade. Ice Beam deal 60, 80%, and this Zapdos KOs back. In this case, Hunter does not have a Zapdos. So Niko is free to just lead Starmie Tauros or Starmie Persian again, and just deals big damage against 4/6 of Hunter's team. And Metagross and Snorlax are the 2 things preventing Niko from running over the team with Starmie. I believe Hunter might just have to lead Snorlax in order to take on the Starmie. perhaps Latias Snorlax, because Latias has the bulk, maybe can threaten a Thunder Wave. And we're seeing a lot of support from Japanese players for Hunter. That was, again, I think the critical hits just sort of made the game very unfortunate, and I would like to see more of an exchange between the players. So we'll see what happens, but that Persian looking very, very scary. Speaking of Rhydon and the lack of Zapdos, Rhydon, if it weren't for the Starmie, the Rhydon would be in a good position to take on the Zapdos, but many of us in Orre now run Hidden Power Grass Zapdos, so that makes Marowak usually a more preferred option over Rhydon. And we've got our leads. We have Starmie Persian again from Niko, and Hunter opting instead to go Latios Metagross. This is a nice adjustment because barring another critical hit, that Starmie can't KO the Metagross. The Metagross can threaten Explosion or just Meteor Mash, possible 1 KO onto Persian. The Latios may have Thunderbolt to deal big damage to Starmie. Perhaps the Metagross has Shadow Ball, and if it's Choice Band, and can KO the Starmie. And if Latios or Metagross has Lumberry, the Persian is very useless here. So I think this is a nice adjustment. Definitely better than having a Moltres on the field. And Metagross Latios is just a very safe lead. And Niko can't deal big damage to Metagross either. He can't double edge into it. He can Ice Beam double edge into Latios, but then Hunter can simply protect. So it is now on Hunter to call what Niko's going to do. This is a very scary position. Again, Starmie Persian can double into Latios, or can fake out Latios and then Hydro Pump Metagross, or can Hypnosis somebody. Latios goes for the Protect, and Niko, instead of going for a fake out onto the Latios, goes for fake out onto Metagross and substitutes the Starmie and exploits the protecting Latios. In this case, Niko got a really good call, faking out the Pokemon that did not protect, and with the substitute is now just very much threatening. Now it has higher longevity. Hunter can no longer go for an Explosion because it would just hit into substitute, and can't go for a cheeky Protect plus Explosion to possibly trade. So now Hunter's position is very difficult. The Latios, having just protected, is now susceptible to Ice Beam plus Double Edge, double into it, and the Metagross can't hurt the Starmie. If it has Shadow Ball, it'll break the substitute, which is fine. But it can't go for an Explosion. It could go for Earthquake, possibly. But in this case, Niko's safest move is simply to double into Latios and gain momentum by removing a tempo from Hunter's side. If KOing Latios, then that's 1 less attack Hunter gets for the turn. And if Hunter switches, that's 1 less attack Hunter gets for the turn. And if Hunter protects, that's 1 less attack Hunter gets for the turn. So Hunter has to make that decision, sacrifice the Latios, switch out, and then take whatever damage on the switch in, or just go for a 50-50 with the Protect, and then maybe go for an Earthquake. We do not know what this Metagross has yet. Perhaps it has Shadow Ball to take on Starmie, but Niko's substitute Starmie is really, really good. And Latios going for the 50-50 instead of either sacrificing the Latio, and it fails, and Niko just makes the very safe move, Ice Beam plus Double Edge, gets the KO, reduces the number of the damage turns out, the damage output Hunter can put out, and Hunter going for the Earthquake does not KO the Persian, indicating that this Metagross is not Choice Band. It is some other item, and it breaks the substitute, but not killing the Persian means there's an additional turn for the Persian to bother Hunter again. Again, with possible Hypnosis into the Metagross if it doesn't have Lumberry, with possible double up, maybe Double Edge plus Hydro Pump to call a Latias switch in. This position looks very difficult for Hunter because The Moltres switch in was definitely for that Metagross going for Earthquake to not hurt itself, but now Moltres is compromised. It get KO'd by Starmie 80% of the time. So this Hydro Pump, if it hits the Moltres, that would remove it. And instead of going for Hydro Pump, Niko risks a lower accuracy move, puts the Moltres to sleep, and tries to deal damage to the Metagross, basically saying, hey, this Metagross is probably the bigger threat against my team. I'm going to go Hydro Pump it because Moltres can't damage Starmie. Gets the the good Hypnosis hit. And that Earthquake not KOing the Starmie, getting rid of Persian, but now the Starmie has the Patea Berry to threaten damage. And Niko gets a free switch into Zapdos, which is now threatening a KO onto Metagross and is threatening a 1 KO into Moltres. Hunter, depending if he has Rhydon in the back or not, might be able to pull off a switch, but this sleeping Moltres is not in a very good position right now. It needs the 1-turn wake up. And it needs to be able to threaten the damage, maybe Hidden Power Dark or Hidden Power Grass. This Starmie looking really scary, though. It can just keep going for Hydro Pump, and Zapdos can go for Thunderbolt. Either Hydro Pump Moltres, KO it, and then Thunderbolt Metagross, KO it, or the other way around. Thunderbolt Metagross, just a guarantee it doesn't get KO'd, and the Hydro Pump the Metagross. Perhaps even calling in a Rhydon slot. Niko's in a very commanding position, and Hunter needs to rely on Hydro Pump missing in order to get back into the game. Needs a Hydro Pump miss and needs a 1-turn wake, because this Zapdos is in a very excellent position. Hunter switching out the Moltres for the Snorlax just so that way it can tank the Hydro Pump, but Niko safely Thunderbolting the Metagross just in case the Metagross goes for, say, an explosion, and there is no Rhydon on Hunter's team. This Zapdos is now free to Thunderbolt for the rest of the game. It's Snorlax and Moltres versus 3 Pokemon, and the Snorlax is just taking so much damage from this +1 Starmie. I think Hunter will have to get a very lucky, maybe wake up Protect Moltres, self-destruct, survive Starmie and Zapdos, self-destruct, take him out, and then if there's Metagross in the back, Hunter can get back into the game. Or Hunter maybe just KOs Starmie and KOs Protect Stalls and then KOs Zapdos and wins because of leftovers. We'll see how Hunter can hustle this game. And we have a Hydro Pump KO. We have a very safe substitute just to cover a self-destruct. And we now have a leftovers war between Snorlax and Zapdos. And now that Moltres is removed from the game, Hunter can no longer go for self-destruct. And we know that Snorlax does not have Quick Claw, which means Niko can simply just keep clicking attacks and can win 3v1. I believe this game is over, and I'm going to call it now. There's no Quick Claw to save Hunter because leftovers has been revealed. And I believe this is going to be another 2-0 victory for Team World. Lefties. And with that, Starmie KOs Snorlax to take game 2. And now Team World is up 2-0 versus Team Japan. We have our next matchup coming up. But right now, Sabaku and Missingno, a very good exchange. However, with Hunter did try, but the critical hits were very strong in game 1. And in game 2, Niko simply made very strong plays. Again, showing why he is the second best player in this format, possibly the best. And using the very innovative Persian, which has not been seen ever. Very strong games, and congratulations to both players for their efforts. We are now going to be moving on to match 3. And I believe match 3 is Sunad Dori versus Grandma's Cooking. I don't see Sunad Dori here. Telu, do you know if Sunad Dori goes by any other names?
Let me check.
Yeah, because I don't see a trainer named Sunadori.
Is there Ice Force in it?
Ice Force is not here.
Not here.
They should be on Don.psim. I'm not a cat. Yeah, no, I don't see.
Let me ask.
Okay. In the meanwhile, I would like to go over our two trainers who will be matching up. We have Sunadori, a Japanese player who does not have a Twitter, and their main achievement is getting a first place win in a Japanese live tournament called Kanto Battle Revolution Off. And this was a VGC 2010 tournament, I believe. So has some experience with other generations. Facing Sunadori from Japan is Grandma's Cooking from Canada, who is actually plays 6 versus 6 doubles, Generation 3 doubles, and switched over to our 4v4 doubles, and has attended some of our tournaments, has top cut 3 of them, and actually got first place and won the 5th Orre Cup. In addition to being a seasoned Generation 3 doubles player, both in 6v6 and 4v4, Grandma's Cooking also placed top 128 or top 64 at the North American International Championships this year. And furthermore, Grandma's Cooking was the other player along with me who met Utelu and who met Hunter in Yokohama, which is what started these battles. So we're now waiting on... We are now waiting for the username for Sunadori. Ice Force.
Yeah, Ice Force. Yeah, I think he's in.
Okay. Have they started the bat? Left. It's Sunadori is Ice Fork. Or Ice Fork, there's no E. So these are another 2 players. We're going to be going into match 3 soon. And again, very interesting teams so far. I think Team World has been bringing more standard like Metagross, Latios, Zapdos things, while Team Japan has been going for these interesting techs with the Suicune Marowak or with double Latis. I'm looking forward to what Sunadori uses.
I think one of the reasons why like Japanese people were using so much Moltres is because RNGing Moltres and Gale of Darkness has been like really hard for the past few years, but like I think it was last year it become like much easier, and we're starting to use it on retail to see how it's gonna be more useful. So they want to try Moltres on doubles too.
Oh, okay. Like just see what it gets. Will-O-Wisp and something else, right? Is it extra sensory or?
Yeah, I think it heals itself or something.
Okay, I'm just gonna post. Yeah, thank you. Oops. And we've got. Let's just wait for some trainers to join in. Maybe another minute or 2, and then we can go on to game 3. But looking at the rosters, we have Sunadori or Ice Force, using no Metagross. Instead, it's Snorlax, Latios, Zapdos, Arcstar, and Tauros, opting against Metagross instead of going double normals and the very interesting Arcanine Starmie combination, which covers both Metagross and then Ice Beams into Latis and Zapdos. And on the flip side, Grandma's Cooking, instead of using their Orre Cup 10 team, which had Gyarados, using what seems to be very standard Metagross, Lati, Zap, Snorlax, Arcanine to cover Metagross, and Swampert. So Swampert is a very interesting Pokemon because we didn't use it early in our metagame, and I believe in Japanese tournaments, Swampert wasn't used at all in doubles.
Yeah, never seen it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. But Swampert has become a very big pain in the side and like a top tier Pokemon simply because it matches well into Metagross, Latios, and Latios and Zapdos, to the point that we're all running Hidden Power Grass on Zapdos because if you don't, your Swampert just walls your team. So, now that enough players have joined, I think maybe it's a good time to start the match. But this is more standard matchups. I think Sunadori not having Metagross is going to be very interesting because that means Arcanine may not be as useful. It still has Intimidate, but it doesn't get the 1-hit KO that it's match 3, game 1. Good luck, trainers. Just looking at the matchup, we have, since there's no Metagross, that means there's less resistances to Explosion, but Substitute could possibly make up for that. There's less resistance to Metagross, but there's an Arcanine and a Starmie. So not having Metagross, which is the most used Pokemon in all of Gen 3 doubles, is not the end of the world. Metagross is very useful, especially if you're taking on Snorlax, but Sunadori has options in Tauros and Snorlax itself and Intimidating Arcanine to take on Snorlax. We have our leads, and it's a very safe Lati Arcanine versus Lati Arcanine. And we're going very quickly. We've revealed the white herb on Grandma's Cooking's Arcanine, so it's probably Overheat. And instead just goes for Helping Hand and Dragon Claw taking Latios to... What's the name? Winning the speed tie, presumably speed tie. It might not have been speed tie. Getting rid of Latios. So Grandma's Cooking just in a very strong position between the Helping Hand and the Dragon Claw. And now Sunadori switches into Snorlax, which does now wall the Arcanine and the Latios. To compensate, Sunadori is able to drop the special defense of Latios with that crunch, 10% very lucky. And this now puts it in a position to get KO'd by Arcanine. Meanwhile, Snorlax here simply just walls Latios and Arcanine. Latios gonna do some neutral damage, but not a lot to Arcanine, and definitely very little damage to Snorlax. We do not know if the Snorlax has Choice Band, or White Herb, or Quick Claw, or even Leftovers, but the Snorlax, despite being down a Pokemon, the Snorlax is now in a really good position. And we have Snorlax Arcanine. Oh! And with the double switch, GMA trying to reposition around this Snorlax, which now uses Curse, which patches up one of Snorlax's biggest weaknesses, its low physical defense. And in addition to the increased damage and the increased resistance to Metagross, Snorlax does not need the speed, so it can just go for Curse and deal damage. We have a Zapdos switch in, and we have an Self-Destruct plus Protect. Grandma's Cooking, both covering for the Arcanine KO into Metagross, and going for Self-Destruct to try to remove Snorlax from the field, but it simply does not break through the +1 defense Snorlax, which just goes for another Curse. And now Sunadori, who's down 2-3, still threatens with Arcanine, the overheat on the Metagross, has the leftovers with Snorlax, so can eventually get more damage in. And this Snorlax walls the Arcanine and semi-walls the Latios. I think Latios is like a 5-hit KO against leftover Snorlax. So possibly Sunadori can just go for a Protect Snorlax, Protect Arcanine, and scout if the Metagross is going to switch out to Latios or not. And then the turn afterwards can just go for big damage, and there's really nothing that Grandma's Cooking can do. Actually, because of Generation 3 switch mechanics, Sunadori also has the option of just going for Overheat into Metagross and then KOing the Latios switch in on the same turn. And Grandma's Cooking only option against Snorlax is just Overheat. If the Metagross protects and the Arcanine overheats, because of Thick Fat, Snorlax will probably take 20%, and then between leftovers recovery, I don't think it can KO with another overheat. This cursed Snorlax is proving to be very powerful. and we'll see if it can survive this Arcanine. Now, because of the Intimidate, Snorlax is only at +1 attack, but the biggest thing here is not even whether the Snorlax has high defense or not. It's the fact that Grandma's Cooking only has one way to remove Snorlax from the field, and it's threatened by the Arcanine. Grandma's Cooking switching out Metagross for Latias. We have the Overheat. We have the Crunch calling the Metagross switch out, and actually calling the Metagross switch out with a return as well. So, going all in, if that was a Protect Explosion, that Metagross would have just tanked the Crunch and then won the game. But because Grandma's Cooking was very afraid of the Overheat, switching to the Latias, it got called, and Sunadori now simply tanking the Overheat, the first Overheat, and then just going for that damage onto Arcanine. And between Leftovers Recovery, -2 special attack on the Arcanine, Thick Fat, Grandma's Cooking's only way out here is an Overheatness. I'm in a meeting. Yeah. But I'm doing commentary on YouTube. Somebody else is in my... And if the Snorlax can take on the Arcanine unless the Overheat critical hits. And Grandma's Cooking needs an Overheatness, and unfortunately doesn't get it. Arcanine gets the Overheat, it KOs the Metagross, and Snorlax KOs Grandma Cooking's Arcanine to take game 1. So this is... Sunadori has not only won first game of the match, has also won the first game for Team Japan in the entire exhibition. And we're going to be going into game 2. This was a really strong set played between both players, and Sunadori, despite going down a Mon, was able to make it back up with that powerful Cursed Snorlax. Grandma's Cooking is going to have to adjust. And we're going to get game 2. Round 3, game 2. So yeah, just because a player's down one Pokemon, that does not necessarily mean it's the end of the world. And we're going to be starting very quickly with game 2 of the third matchup. We have Grandma's Cooking going for Latias Swampert, a very defensive core, and Sunadori going for Latios Arcanine, that very safe damage dealing with Latios and Arcanine covering these Snorlax and intimidating the Metagross. In this position, I think Grandma's Cooking, that was a very nice adjustment with the Swampert, is able to take on Latios and Arcanine, and we just have a switch out. What? Did I just see a Hidden Power Grass? Oh my goodness. Sunadori just running away with this game. Grandma's Cooking switching out the Latias to take maybe less damage from the Latios, and Sunadori just going with Dragon Claw Hidden Power Grass just to remove the Swampert. Now Swampert, which normally would be a very strong option into meta Lati, Zap, and Arcanine, with that Hidden Power Grass, it's removed from the field, and now Grandma's Cooking is down 4-3. On the flip side, we're in the same position as was seen in game 1, where you have Metagross Snorlax just threatening a lot of damage. Metagross is threatened by Arcanine Overheat, but this Latios is not going to be doing anything this turn. It simply does not have the damage potential against both Metagross and Snorlax. So Grandma's Cooking has that advantage going, and has a switch potential, switching the Metagross out for the Latias, or protecting the Metagross and maybe body slamming or returning the Arcanine. It's not over, despite the 4-3 advantage, but that Hidden Power Grass was a big deal. We see Metagross protecting just to make sure it's safe from Arcanine, and Quick Claw is revealed, Snorlax going for the Shadow Ball into Latios instead of returning the Arcanine, and Latios just going for a safe Psychic, and Arcanine going for a safe Overheat. Sunadori is up a Pokemon, and can go for these very safe, just deal damage moves. And Grandma's Cooking has to compensate with predicting with switches, with calling what to attack with. Quick Claw. So now we have another turn. It seems Sunadori is exploiting the protect, and it's just doubling into the Metagross slot to either cover the Metagross staying in or the switch out to Latios. Metagross does get KO'd by the overheat, which hits 90% of the time. And Snorlax going for the double edge into the Arcanine. Now Sunadori is up 4-2. And so now Grandma's Cooking does not have any more switch potentials. It's very easy for Sunadori to just pivot. And now we have an Arcanine switch out, presumably for Intimidate, and the Snorlax gets the Quick Claw again. That is very helpful to get Grandma's Cooking back into the game because that's less damage onto the Snorlax from the Latios. It's now a 3-2 game, and with Zapdos, Arcanine, and the final Snorlax revealed, and Latios revealing Psychic, dealing really good damage into Zapdos. Snorlax walls the Arcanine, and so the only Grandma's Cooking is still in the game with this Quick Claw Snorlax. Sunadori, on the other hand, has Snorlax walling Latios. And it's at this point that I must make my statement that I believe Snorlax is as good as Meta Lati Zap. I have to say it. Sorry. I think Snorlax has been underrated the past few weeks. But look at how effective Snorlax is at walling different Pokemon. The Snorlax switching to Arcanine for the Intimidate pivot just results in the Arcanine getting KO'd with a double edge, and Latios going for Ice Beam. So now Grandma's Cooking is in the game. It's 2-2, going from 4-2 to 2-2. And with a third Quick Claw activation. And we just have and it's a Rest Zapdos. Grandma's Cooking protecting just to cover possible self-destruct. And Rest Zapdos plus Cursed Snorlax. Sunadori is just exploiting a very passive turn from Grandma's Cooking. If that Snorlax went for a self-destruct, it was not able to do it because of the paralysis. And now we have a +1 Snorlax threatening big damage with return. And but on the flip side, Grandma's Cooking protecting, taking both hits, and being able to do Ice Beam. Sunadori just doubling into that protected Snorlax, and it's now 2v1. This Latios now has to go for Ice Beam freezes in order to win the game. Does not get the critical hit, does not get the KO on Zapdos. Zapdos goes for the Hidden Power Ice, and Snorlax KOs the Latios with a 2-0 score. Sunadori gets a point for Japan, and now the score is Japan 1, World 2. I think Sunadori played incredibly there with lots of predictions and a very well-built team and good leads. That was a fantastic set. And Grandma's Cooking, meanwhile, was able to almost get game 2, was able to hustle and exploit despite being down 2 Pokemon. I think this is a very good example of how to play Generation 3 doubles, and I really appreciated that set. I now have to save it. And now the score is 1 Japan and 2 for the world, and we're going into round 4. Round 4 will be Whoa versus for 4 LOM. Ooh, ho versus for 4 LOM. I've saved both games, and now the score is 1-2. We are now looking forward, and they've already began. We've already got and round 4, game 1. This is a really exciting match. So before we begin match 4, I'd like to go over the players. Telu, do you have anything to say about Uohoho?
So like Uohoho started playing Dirt like 7 years ago something, and at that time he was still learning in high school. So
wow, so high school player. So was actually
playing third gen, and like at that
Was
time,
born.
when Emerald was released, I think he was like 5 years old or something. So I think he never played third gen back in the day. So that's like impressive to start playing
Yeah.
like old games afterwards.
Yeah. So started third gen, not when third gen was out, but like later.
Yeah, later.
All right.
So I think that's one unique thing.
That's very unique. Ohoho, as I see is active in the Japanese Gen 3. I see the one accomplishment listed is Anakin off third place, which was a singles tournament. So is Uoho very, very active in the singles battles?
He's active in every third gen stuff. Like he loves third. I think he started playing third gen from Battle Towers. In-game Battle Towers. So
Yeah.
like he plays everything in third gen. And
Okay.
also, he's the first person to RNG on Suicune Retail.
Oh, Suicune
Pokemon
on
Colosseum.
Colosseum? Yeah.
Suicune.
So it has a
Which is really
legitimate
hard
like
at that time.
flawless Suicune. Oh my goodness. Is not bringing Suicune in this game, but yeah, it sounds like a very active player. And also, fun fact: I saw Uoho yesterday. It was like nighttime in America and Europe, but it was daytime here in Asia. And I just challenged Uoho to a set. And I was like, okay, Uoho does not have like doubles accomplishments, but I want to see how strong they are as a player. I go in with one of my strongest teams. I play game one. I play like I normally do, and I lost. I lost game one, and I was like, wow, very like just, and I don't know what happened. I think just Starmie wasn't a good. And then like in games 2 and 3, I had to adjust game 2. I was able to outplay Uoho, and in game 3, it came down to calling when he would self-destruct. And I called it correctly, but it was a very close game. So just playing Woho, I already know is a strong player. Despite the like lack of double tournament achievements, and also has a very interesting team. On the opposite end is for 4LOM from the United States. Now I didn't say start. We have for 4LOM, who's a very active member of our server, has top cut a lot of our tournaments and is one of the highest rated. Is one of the highest rated players in the Orre server on ladder. And actually, for 4LOM and I are very. We have similar playstyles, so we actually team build together sometimes. And with that, we have our leads going. Whoa, has a Hariyama, which is not common in our metagame, but it does have high bulk, it does have fake out, it does have helping hand. It just unfortunately doesn't have high damage potential because Brick Break is weak, and it's weak to Psychic. But it does have a lot of potential here, and there's a Raikou. In fact, both players have almost the same team. Meta Lati Zap Toro's Raikou, very fast teams. Whoa. Has the bulkier Hariyama, but for 4LO, I'm going for the very fast Starmie. And we have a fake out going into the Metagross, possibly to prevent Earthquake or Explosion. We have Light Screen from Latias, and we have Substitute from Raikou. Raikou outrunning the Latias. And so now that the Light Screen is up, Raikou is not going to be able to deal as much damage. And for 4LM is now just in a perfect position to just keep clicking Earthquake. And the Hariyama reveals Earthquake itself. It deals 60%. That's a lot of damage. So with that, I think Metagross might be in KO range depending on the bulk investment. Light Screen might save it, but the Thunderbolt might KO the Metagross. And meanwhile, just between Protect Earthquake and Dragon Clawing into the Raikou instead of the Hariyama, now for 4LM is in a position where Metagross is threatened by the KO from Thunderbolt and possibly Earthquake. And if that Hariyama, which has Fake Out Earthquake revealed, if it has 4 attacks, if it has Hidden Power Ghost, it can also hit into the Latias and 2 KO it. For 4LOM's advantage is that Metagross is faster than Hariyama. So if Hariyama doesn't have Quick Claw, then it can't KO the Metagross. This Hariyama now revealing it was Earthquake, Fake Out, and Helping Hand, assisting the Thunderbolt to go break through to negate the light screen. And now for 4 LOM is down 1 Pokemon and switches into Raikou instead. So now it's a Raikou mirror match. Wohoho has Leftovers Protect Substitute and presumably a 4th move. And now we reveal just how strong Light Screen is. That Crunch with the Helping Hand boost, having to deal with Light Screen, doesn't even 2-hit KO the Latias. And Raikou just goes for its own substitute, and Latias uses Dragon Claw. So, I would like to point out that Raikou, this is one of Raikou's greatest strengths. It is faster than most of the format, it's faster than all the base 110s. It can click Substitute, and it can exploit Protects. It can threaten 1 KO on Starmie, and it still deals lots of damage to everybody. It's like Zapdos, except it's weak to Earthquake. Like better Zapdos, but weak to Earthquake. So now both players are just running Substitute Raikou, and it's 3-3. Hariyama is removed, Metagross is removed. We'll have to see what Uohoho has. But in terms of ways to take on Raikou, it's click Earthquake, and that's it. Thunderbolt from Zapdos does not like going into Substitute, especially with Light Screen. And even like Dragon Claw isn't going to be dealing that much damage from Latias. So now we have Uohoho sending in the Metagross and threatening the Earthquake. But in order to threaten the Earthquake, that Raikou has to protect. So now it becomes a mind game. Will the Raikou protect or not protect on Uohoho's side? Will 4-4 LOM protect or not? If this game comes down to Raikou versus Raikou, Uohoho has advantage because of Leftovers. But it's still 3-3, and both players have many options. There's also the possibility of Meteor Mash Metagross or, if his choice band, Shadow Ball to remove the Latias. But that Crunch will not be KOing the Latias this turn. We're going to see a Protect from the Metagross and a Crunch into the Raikou that doesn't break the Substitute because Light Screen is ridiculous. And for 4 LOM revealing that the Latias is dual screens. So going for a Reflect, and with Reflect, Metagross would not be able to KO with Meteor Mash. Screens are very powerful in Generation 3. Actually, they're powerful in every single generation, but in Gen 3, they're very notable because there's very little counterplay to them. Brick Break is terrible, don't use it. And now, for 4 LOM's Light Screen is out, and so is threatened, actually is not threatened by Crunch, because that was a Helping Hand Crunch that did 42%. So now can just go for another Light Screen while Raikou is free to click Thunderbolt. And Uohoho goes for the Crunch, gets the special defense drop, which won't matter because it'll KO the next turn, and Meteor Mash, trying not to Earthquake into their own Raikou, misses the Raikou, so does not break the sub. For 4 LOM is now in a position to get rid of the Metagross, and Uohoho is in a position to get rid of Latias. It's 3-3, and both players just have Raikou, and it's really annoying. I like this mirror. I think it's really funny. One way that many players can deal with Raikou is by putting a Snorlax onto their team, but neither player has Snorlax. They have to rely on Hariyama or Metagross to use Earthquake or Tauros. And Raikou does get the 2-hit KO onto Tauros, and with teammates' assist from, say, Starmie or Latias, can KO the Tauros before it can move. So I think for both players, Raikou will be crucial in how they can take on the opponent. With 4-4 LOM setting up dual screens, the last Pokemon should be able to tank Raikou better, and Metagross is not as much of a threat, and there's Tauros in the back, it won't be able to 1-KO anything anymore. So I think this turn, going forward, is going to be about who protects, who doesn't protect. And for 4 LOM going for Crunch, it seems not protecting the Latias, so it seems trying to go for just double into Raikou in order to deal damage. And in comes the Tauros. So for 4 LOM's last Pokemon being Tauros, it will, because of there's no boost on the Raikou, it will just be able to safely click Return or Double Edge. Probably doesn't want to Earthquake into teammate Raikou. And this Raikou is threatening the KO onto Metagross. 4/4 LOM also has the possibility of Thunderbolt in the Metagross and then KO the switch in with Double Edge. So again, both players have the very powerful Raikou for their as their main Pokemon, as their main threat. And these screens will probably come to be effective for LM. We'll see what the damage roll is for Thunderbolt. We'll see if Ohoho just goes for a substitute, since it is substitute Protect leftovers. And we'll see if this Metagross can even get an attack off, or if it get KO'd by Thunderbolt. Ohoho has not revealed the last Pokemon, so if it is a Latias, it could possibly switch in and resist the Thunderbolt, but we'll have to see. It could also be a Tauros or a Zapdos, which would just get KO'd by Tauros. Meanwhile, Ohoho's option is Thunderbolt into Tauros and take a Double Edge, or substitute, and then it gets broken by Double Edge, or Protect. Despite being up 3-2, it's not Ohoho's game yet, and it really comes down to these predictions. I do not think Metagross is relevant at all anymore. Ohoho switches to the Latias to get to resist the Thunderbolt, and 4/4 paralyzes with the Lumberry, but because of the double into the Metagross, since it was protecting, it was a safe move, is able to just KO this Latias, and now it's 2-2, and 4/4 has screens, which means Meteor Mash should not KO the Tauros. Thunderbolt should not KO the Tauros. 4/4 is now in a position to Thunderbolt Metagross, Double Edge the Raikou, and Raikou needs a critical hit or a paralysis in order to take out the Tauros. And if going for substitute, that Metagross is just going to faint. Alternatively, Ohoho can just protect several times, stall out the light screen, and then go for a Thunderbolt, which I think deals around 60 to 70% of the Tauros. It'll come to see, but I do like 4/4 position because of that really big double into the Metagross slot and taking advantage of Generation 3 switch mechanics. On the flip side, if Ohoho can remove Tauros, and it's 1 versus 1, leftovers means that Raikou should beat Raikou. So it really comes down to perhaps it's going to be Protect substitute stalling. Perhaps this Metagross might just go for an explosion and hope that 4/4 doubles into Raikou. There are a lot of possibilities. And while 4/4 has advantage, I think just because of this double edge, Ohoho just has to make a really good read and is back into the game. 4/4 going for the safe Thunderbolt, prevent the possible explosion or earthquake. And as I said, with a critical hit, Thunderbolt will bypass light screen. And now in this mirror, I believe Ohoho has advantage simply because of leftovers. This becomes also a pressure war because both Raikou have pressure, and so they can eventually stall each other out of Thunderbolt, and then they would have to go to Crunch, which is not as effective because Thunderbolt can paralyze, which is more significant than a special defense drop. It's now Raikou mirror time. 4/4 has the substitute up and has the light screen, so should be able to tank another 2 crunches. Oh, it doesn't work. Apparently I'm wrong. And Ohoho can now just, I think just wins if there's no critical hit because leftovers beats not leftovers. I'm surprised that Ohoho is not going for Protect, but might just be afraid of 4/4 going for substitute. 4/4 still hasn't revealed the item on Raikou. It could be Magnet or it could be Patea Berry, which might be able to swing the game. Another Crunch goes off, and the Patea Berry activates. Which means now it really comes down to the speed tie. And the damage rolls. Crunch is dealing 26%. It means it should deal about 39%. And Ohoho, now no longer afraid of the substitute, goes for a Protect, gets the leftovers recovery, and it comes down to speed tie and what this damage roll is and possible crit. And Ohoho wins the speed tie, KOs the Raikou, and we have game 1 going to Ohoho. And in that Raikou mirror, leftovers proved crucial. Despite the light screen, despite the Patea berry, for 4LM simply getting outrun in the speed tie, but that leftovers means that even if he won the speed tie, it would come to possible leftovers mattering. And so we're going to go into this game. Yes, Niko?
Okay, thank you. No
Yes, you
problem.
don't have to mute and unmute, right? All right, and we've got, oh my goodness, there's so many trainers watching. So we now have Wohohoho up a point. And so Japan may be down a point, but Oho's up a game and can tie the score for Japan. We're going to see how both players adapt to Raikou versus Raikou. And we have Hariyama Raikou versus Latias Metagross. For 4LOM, instead of is going for the safe Latias Metagross lead, and it's a repeat of game 1, except in this case, for 4LOM now knows that Hariyama's moveset is Earthquake, Fake Out, Helping Hand, and also knows that this Raikou is Thunderbolt Crunch. It's not 4 attack. Like it would matter, there's no Swampert to run Hidden Power Grasp, but there is very much the threat of Earthquake again from this Hariyama, but for 4LM can keep clicking Earthquake and just get rid of this Raikou. It is, again, one of those very interesting turns where there is probably not a best play. It's about reading your opponent. Will my opponent click Substitute? Will my opponent click Earthquake plus Protect? It's come to see, but the Hariyama Earthquake was very pivotal previous game, and if Oho just makes one good call, a Protect plus Earthquake, or maybe like a Fake Out sub into Protect Earthquake again, then if that Metagross is removed, there's one less Pokemon that can take on this Raikou. On the flip side, 4/4 LOM, knowing that it's Fake Out, Helping Hand, and Earthquake, it's unlikely that this Hariyama has Detect. It's probably Hidden Power Ghost or Brick Break, which means that Hariyama, for 4LM, could just go for Earthquake Dragon Claw and just go for a 2-hit KO onto Hariyama the turn afterwards, and that also covers the Raikou substitute. Alternatively, if 4/4LM is really, really gutsy, can just go for Protect Explosion. But given the substitute from the Raikou, it's very unlikely. It is going to be interesting what these trainers lead, but I don't think there's going to be a switch. I think and I am mistaken. Toro switches out, and the Hariyama reveals the white herb, gets the critical hit with the Fake Out, and Latias light screens here. So again, if it weren't for that light screen, the Thunderbolt could KO the Tauros because Tauros has very low special attack. But because of the light screen, Tauros is now in a prime position to just click Earthquake, and between Earthquake from Tauros and Dragon Claw into Latias from Latias, perhaps it'll KO the Hariyama. Or perhaps for 4LM, knowing that there is no Protect or unlikely Protect on the Hariyama, might just double up into the Hariyama with double-edged Dragon Claw to get a KO, and then rely on Metagross in order to take out Raikou. This Hariyama has put in a decent amount of work for Uohoho, given that it has basically no damage, normally no damage output, but Earthquake is a very interesting move over Hidden Power Ghost. And the Helping Hand has helped it out. In fact, with Helping Hand, the Thunderbolt can actually go past Light Screen and KO the Tauros. So Ohoho does not necessarily have to go for Brick Break into Tauros or get threatened by the KO. Can just go for Helping Hand Thunderbolt. It's a very, very good position for Ohoho now that there's a substitute up. And alternatively, can just Protect and Brick Break and KO, I think, the Tauros. So, and would break the light screen. So for 4LOM is going to have to call whether it's a Helping Hand or if it's a Brick Break. Personally, I don't think the Tauros switch in was useful. I think Metagross just going for Earthquake would have been a safer move in order to not waste turns. But we'll see what Tauros is able to do here. It's threatened by that Helping Hand Thunderbolt, which deals 70%. And instead, Ohoho switches out and does the switch in to cover the Dragon Claw Double Edge instead of going for Helping Hand Thunderbolt to take out Tauros. And now Metagross is down 60%, which is a decent amount, putting it possibly in range of Raikou or Zapdos KO range, or even Starmie. But on the flip side, this Tauros seems almost to have been expended. It will get KO'd next turn, most likely, either by its own Double Edge Recoil or from Thunderbolt or Crunch. And it was not able to do the big Tauros beefy damage, where it just clicks into a Mon and when it KOs it. So now, for 4LM, might want to switch, does not switch, eats a Thunderbolt, and now it's on Latias to do something. The Reflect, in order to turn a Meteor Mash from a 2-hit KO to a 3-hit KO, but it doesn't matter because of the critical hit. That is the downside of screens. Critical hit beats screens. And for 4LM is now in a weird position where he's down 4-2 and there's fake out pressure from the Hariyama and there's leftovers from the Raikou. I don't want to say the game is over. There is dual screens. There is still the Earthquake pressure. And with the dual screen, with the light screen, Raikou should be able to only 3-hit kill Metagross, depending on the EVs. But the fake out pressures are very strong here. And without leftovers on Raikou, for 4LOM is just going to have to deal with this Raikou mirror again, which he'll probably lose. So we're going to see what both players select, but Hariyama has been surprisingly effective in this game, paired up with Raikou. It's a pairing I don't think I've ever seen before, but it works. It works the same way Arc Star works, where Arcanine uses Helping Hand and Starmie gets important one-hit KOs with Ice Beam or with Hydro Pump. Very, very interesting Pokemon with Hariyama. And we just have to see how 4-4LM will adapt. Maybe Protect Earthquake, get rid of the Metagross, break the substitute. Or maybe protecting the Metagross, Thunderbolting and then substituting, calling maybe like an opposing Protect Metagross. We'll see. And we have 4-4LM safely going for Protect Earthquake, and actually Uohoho goes first. Indicating that either it's EV'd faster or there is a speed tie, which is pretty common in Orre. A lot of Metagross run max speed to speed tie opposing Metagross. But with the Reflect, the Metagross still took 45%. I don't believe it's in KO range from Thunderbolt, but because of winning that speed tie or just being faster, Uohoho has the advantage, just more damage, is now threatening the fake out, and can just continue just clicking Thunderbolt over and over again. For 4LM, on the other hand, can only really click Protect if can only Earthquake if protecting with Raikou. So again, one less possible option to handle this Raikou. In the Raikou mirror, Ohoho wins simply because of leftovers. And with this Hariyama also threatening Earthquake, Ohoho doesn't even have to fake out, can just click Protect Earthquake, get rid of the Raikou, break Raikou substitute or KO it. Actually not KO it because of Reflect, but can deal big damage. So just having two Earthquake users, Ohoho has been able to beat this mirror, win this mirror. And there's the fake out pressure, there's the Helping Hand plus Thunderbolt possible. And Ohoho just goes for a fake out into Raikou and then just gets damage off with Metagross. And this Metagross goes for Meteor Mash. And now in this position, Ohoho can Thunderbolt Metagross, can Brick Break maybe the Raikou, and it's a very difficult position for Farfallon, who has to call whether this Thunderbolt's going to Metagross or not. But the Raikou might not even be able to KO Hariyama because of the high bulk. Just Thunderbolt to Hariyama might deal like 39%, and then Hariyama can just click Brick Break and just deal chip damage onto Raikou, or even break a substitute if Farfallon calls it. Oho's in a commanding position. It's not over, but has so many more strong winning plays than 4-4 LOM, especially with this leftovers Raikou. 4-4 LOM just decides, let's get rid of the Hariyama, calling maybe a Protect, and it's a Thunderbolt. It's not a Protect from the Raikou, and so calls wrong, and now 4-4 LOM is now Raikou versus Raikou plus Latias. There is a leftovers on the Raikou, so I'm sorry to say this, but I think it's game. I believe Oho just wins the game now using Crunch plus Dragon Claw. And to guarantee winning the matchup, Oho goes for Icy Wind so as to not to get the speed tie. And with that, 4-4 LOM says GG, and that is game 2, 2-0 for Ohoho. And that is now another point for Team Japan. We are going into match 5. Oh my goodness. This is really close. And we only have one more game to go. What do we have left? Our last matchup is going to be Stoic versus Akiak to decide all in. It's so hype. We have one more set to go, and that's just we're just waiting for the players to set up. But wow, good games so far. We just have one more set to go. They just need to start. All right, that's not it. Couple of minutes. But while we're waiting for the last set to go, Telu, how confident were you that Team Japan was going to perform this well?
I was surprised because we are not used to best of 3 matches because we don't have enough time to do best of 3 in retails,
Yeah.
of course.
Of course,
And
yeah.
Only if you play a GB and Worlds or something, you really play best of 3 matches. Or if you just play online randomly, you don't play best of 3. So a lot of Japanese people doesn't have enough experience.
Yeah, experience in best of 3.
Yeah. Right. So I'm really impressed.
Yeah, I was. I think in terms of advantage, one, Japanese players don't have the best of 3 experience, so they have to adjust for that. Whereas I know it's a lot of best of 1. And second, just looking at the roster for the world, it's not only successful in tournaments, but almost every player on the world is really high on ladder. We're playing Orre basically every single day. I 4 out of 5 of the players, or rather, should I say, Grandmas and Sabaku don't play as much, but they're both high enough on the ladder. But 4-4 LOM, Niko and Akiak and I, we're playing almost definitely every single week, if not every single day. 2-2. I'm going to it. This is just got to announce it, and then I can go over the players. Stoic versus Akiak So just before we start the very last matchup in this amazing 5 match series, I just like to go over the players again. So would you like to talk about Stoic, Telu?
So I talked a little bit about Kudofu, which started from like group of people who wanted to RNG Pokemons and like wanted the place to use it. But Stoic has been playing GBA before Kudofu, using Pokemon Online, which is like some kind of simulation online.
Yeah, I played Pokemon Online in 2011.
Yeah, he was playing there in 2011. So he plays mostly on third gen and second gen, I guess. And
Yeah.
he also plays like fourth gen and like old formats rather than the new stuff.
Yeah, rather than modern VGC. So,
Yeah.
I noticed when you sent the list of accomplishments, Stoic has what's the name? Has a second place and a tournament win from Emerald Meets, and is also a singles player. So I also checked Stoic's blog, and I was watching some of these battles, and seemed really very efficient with just like Swagger Lum. So perhaps is going to be using that on the team. It just seems like a very strong strategy in best of one to just click Swagger Earthquake and hope your opponent just doesn't predict it. But in this case, Stoic has a Shedinja. That's amazing because Shedinja, there's no Focus Sash in Generation 3. Shedinja is just hoping the opponent doesn't have a way to hit it. It's only usable, I think, in my opinion, in like definitely best of threes, but like only usable in open team sheets, which is how I won Orre Cup 11 using Shedinja, because I got to know if the opponent had ways to hit Shedinja or not. But here, Stoic doesn't know what moves Akiak has. Stoic has to scout first before, like, perhaps the Gengar has Fire Punch, perhaps the Metagross has Hidden Power Rock, perhaps the Salamence has Hidden Power Flying. We don't know. Shedinja has a really good matchup into all of these Mons if they don't have coverage, but they can run it very occasionally. On the flip side, facing Stoic is Akiak, who's the third admin of the 3 admins for our server for Orre. Akiak is the one, and it's very poetic, is the one who founded Orre Colosseum as a format, is the one who started the server, is the one who's been like always there, active, maybe not as battle heavy as Niko and I, but has always been like there, just like encouraging the growth of the format. So it's very poetic to see Akiak rounding out the set. Akiak's achievements include second place at Orre Cup 3, third place in Orre Cup 5, and 7th place in Orre Cup 6. And though Akiak is rather busy and usually is not as ladder heavy again as like Niko and I, still plays regularly enough and has been using this exact team, Metagross, Gengar, Salamence, Latios, Zapdos, Starmie, for over like 2 months now. So it's going to be very interesting what the match is going to be. But let's give it up. Both players have been introduced. It's hype. Whoever wins this best of 3 will take a point for their team and will determine whether Team Japan or Team Rest of the World is going to win the very first Generation 3 doubles international friendly. So match, let's just go. Round 5, Stoic versus Akiak. Game 1. Trainers, you may begin. All right. So, looking over the teams, Stoic has standard Metalati Zap, has also very fast mode with Tauros Starmie, and just has Shedinja. And Akiak, on the other hand, so it's a relatively standard core. Instead of Snorlax, it's Tauros. So looking just at the core 5, it's pretty standard. And then the Shedinja, just taking on things. And Akiak going with the Metagar, which was very popular early format when nobody knew what they were doing and would just click Explosion randomly. Like, you can win the game on turn 1 just by using Explosion twice. Explode with Gengar, take out 2 Pokemon. Explode with Metagross, take out 2 Pokemon. So Akiak has been very has been the biggest proponent for Metagross Gengar more than any other player. I don't believe in Gengar. Niko doesn't use it as much. 4 LOM despises Gengar. But Akiak has been using it constantly, really likes it. And so now we're going to see a Starmie Tauros versus Metagross Gengar. And this is one of those leads similar to when Niko had the Persian, where Starmie is just so fast that it plus a teammate can double into a slot and KO it before it even gets to move. So it comes down to, like, will this Metagross protect? Will this Gengar protect? Does the Starmie have Psychic to 1-hit KO Gengar? What's Tauros going to do against Gengar? Is it just going to have to lock into Earthquake, or is it going to go for the Hidden Power Ghost? We know for sure this Tauros has Choice Band. Well, maybe not for sure, but like 99% because Tauros almost always runs Choice Band. Akiak, on the other hand, may be running Choice Band on the Metagross, or maybe running a different item. And the Gengar, with that White Herb, almost definitely indicates that Gengar has Explosion. So there is the possibility that Akiak can just explode turn 1 and remove Tauros from the field. Starmie going for that Protect, Gengar going for that Protect, Tauros locking into Earthquake, which means it can't hit Gengar anymore, and Akiak just going for an Explosion, taking out the Tauros, 1-for-1 trade. This is interesting because perhaps Akiak was hoping the Starmie would not Protect, or was just willing to trade the Tauros, maybe not expecting Hydro Pump plus Earthquake. And in this trade, both Metagross go down, Metagross and Tauros goes down, and I will say, I think we'll see what's in the back, but Latias comes in for Stoic, and Starmie comes in for Akiak. And I will say, the advantage Stoic has is if Stoic has Psychic on the Starmie, the Gengar just gets deleted. And Starmie and... meanwhile, Akiak does have Starmie, and both leads, it's base 115 for Starmie and 110 for Gengar and Latias, so there's going to be a lot of speed ties. In terms of Pokemon advantage, Akiak losing Metagross means that Latias is slightly stronger, since Metagross is advantageous versus Latias. Meanwhile, Stoic losing Tauros is not as disadvantageous because it wouldn't be able to do anything to Gengar anyway. But still, we do not know what the third Pokemon on each player is. I am going to assume Stoic doesn't bring Shedinja game 1, but if Stoic's Starmie just goes for Psychic into Gengar, that could be a big deal. We see Akiak switching out Gengar for Salamence, and Starmie only deals 38% to this Latias. It's really bulky, and Latias, between an unfortunate critical hit Psychic and an Icy Wind, Salamence goes down. Just by clicking Icy Wind plus Psychic, Stoic is now in an advantageous position again, and is now threatening a KO with Psychic. Akiak may have Thunderbolt, which with a speed tie and a critical hit can remove Starmie, but otherwise this Gengar is probably getting knocked out by Psychic. And we have Akiak forfeiting. With the forfeit, we're now to tournament point, or exhibition point. Oh hey, if you can, Michael96, just join general instead of special. Switch voice chats, please. This is for stream. And now we have tournament, like exhibition point. Round 5, game 2. Oh my goodness. This may be if Akiak can adjust, can bring it to a game 3, then we'll have such a close match. But Stoic here, just showing the power of Starmie, and the critical hit, of course, is poised to win this for Team Japan. We have just so we'll see how Akiak can adjust to deal with the Starmie Tauros, maybe planning a way to deal with Starmie Tauros lead, possibly bringing the Zapdos, which can live a Tauros Double's Edge. Or perhaps is going to be less aggressive instead of exploding with Mega Gross, maybe just goes for like a Meteor Mash, or if has it since Explosion is revealed, if it's Protect, it's likely not Shadow Ball. But we will see. And this Shedinja is still very scary. Akiak has to respect Shedinja and bring Pokemon that can hit into it. Usually Zapdos and usually Latios don't carry moves to hit Shedinja, which means it's going to be if Salamence if it has a fire or flying move, and also Starmie too, is walled by Shedinja. That leaves Salamence if it has a fire move, Gengar if it has a fire move, and Metagross if it has Shadow Ball, which it likely doesn't because of the explosion. In order for Metagross to run Shadow Ball, it'd have to have Choice Band as well, because nobody runs Explosion, Shadow Ball, Meteor Mash without Protect, and no Earthquake. Both players are taking their time, as is understandable. It's a very tense game too, and we'll have to see what goes on in this.
This is like Gen 3 VGC, is that what this is?
Asterisk, if you could leave the chat, please. Okay. This is for stream. Yeah, sorry. All right, and we have our Game 2 lead. Akiak going. It's the same lead for both players. Metagross Gengar versus Starmie Tauros. This time, however, Akiak knows that there is a Psychic on the Starmie. Stoic, the only thing that's been revealed so far is that this Metagross has Explosion and this Gengar has Protect and White Herb, so probably has Explosion too. So Stoic has to make the call. Will this Gengar Protect the Psychic? And should Starmie Tauros double into the Metagross? Or will this Gengar switch? Or will this Metagross Protect and will this Gengar explode? A very difficult turn for both players, and it's one of those turns where if you like just one miscall or one misread and you're down a Pokemon. It's not like a slugfest as we saw earlier with 4 LOM versus 4 LOM versus Ohoho using the Raikou Mirror, where it's a slow slugfest, or where we're seeing like the trading of damage with Sunad Dori. Like this is close. This is a very volatile turn 1, coming down to reads. And we'll see what happens. Yeah. I think, again, Akiak is in a... if he protects with Gengar and explodes with Metagross and calls the Psychic, wins the game automatically, just with an explosion and is up 3-2. But if doesn't call correctly, if Tauros Earthquake and Starmie Hydro Pump into Metagross while Gengar is protecting, then it's a trade for like no compensation. And normally Tauros, normally like if Tauros is locked into Earthquake, you can switch into Flying, which Akiak has in spades, has 4 Earthquake immune Pokemon, but the Starmie is just threatening Ice Beam. So now Stoic going for Protect, Gengar going for Protect, Metagross, Tauros going for Earthquake, and Akiak going for Shadow Ball instead of and now because of this, Stoic is, and again, in a nice position where threatening KO with Psychic into Gengar And this Earthquake, it would hit the Starmie, but also threatening KO into Metagross. Just the high speed being very relevant here. Akiak has to make a decision, possibly protect the now that Metagross has revealed Shadow Ball and Explosion. I believe it's probably Choice Band. Nobody would run Shadow Ball, Explosion, Meteor Mash, Protect without Earthquake. So Akiak probably has Choice Band. And if Akiak is running Choice Band, can't Protect, so either has to switch out the Metagross and watch an Earthquake happen, or maybe double switch out the Gengar for Latios, and then switch out Metagross for Zapdos or Salamence. But Stoic is currently in the driver's seat with the faster Pokemon. Speed is really scary. And while it's a hard call for both players, I believe Stoic is in the winning position. And on top of being up a game, can afford to make more risky moves because worst case scenario, loses game 2 and then just goes into game 3 where can adjust. Meanwhile, Akiak has to make the right call. Otherwise, it's match point, and that would be exhibition point, winning for Team Japan. Assuming this Metagross is locked into Shadow Ball, then Stoic is free to just KO the Metagross. Possibly even like Earthquaking their own Starmie. And is, again, threatening that Psychic. So, but the Shadow Ball, if it's Choice Band, Metagross, Shadow Ball should one-hit KO the Starmie. So, again, does Stoic want to damage their own Starmie with Earthquake? Or maybe switches out Tauros, and then that would give an opportunity for Metagross or Gengar to explode. So many options, and this is one of the scary things about Generation 3 doubles, is that Explosion is so common. Stoic switching out to Latias, and Akiak double switching to Intimidate, and with that double switch, Tauros is not able to even deal 50% of the Starmie. Akiak now preserving both Pokemon, getting a really good Intimidate because of the switch in, and is now threatening possible Ice Beam into Latias for 2-hit KO, or actually no, not 2-hit KO. Last game we found out that Starmie Ice Beam did 40%, but is threatening 3-hit KO into Latias. Is threatening Hydro Pump into Tauros, which will not KO unless it's critical hit. Meanwhile, Stoic can click Icy Wind the whole time in order to slow down the team, hitting Salamence for big damage, slowing down Starmie, slowing down Gengar. And there's very little Akiak can do about it. Maybe switch into Metagross, which is at 33%. It's really rough. Akiak's team is very weak to ice moves, to Psychic from Starmie especially. Psychic Ice Beam Starmie. And Icy Wind just makes it worse. If this Latias was Thunder Wave instead of Icy Wind, it might have been easier, but the Salamence doesn't have much to play with. Akiak switching, and Stoic doesn't switch out the Tauros, goes for an Earthquake instead, getting a KO onto the Metagross. And the Starmie not even dealing 50% with the Ice Beam. It's if Gengar coming in, and as I was expecting, just click Icy Wind to deal damage into Salamence. And now because of the speed drop, Tauros is now threatening the KO onto Starmie. And Akiak's options are limited because Starmie's at -1. There is switching into Salamence in order to exploit the Tauros, but it'll just eat another Icy Wind because Icy Wind also threatens KO onto... Actually, not KO. Oh, it doesn't KO. It's at 5.7% versus 7%. It's a roll. But Stoic has the option for Icy Wind just to drop Gengar speed again. And meanwhile, Akiak's option is switch out to Gengar, Salamence, just eat an Icy Wind. Or maybe Stoic goes for Dragon Claw to guarantee the KO on the Starmie. This Tauros is locked into Earthquake. So Stoic will have to decide, should they keep Earthquaking, trying to hit the Starmie, or should they switch out just so that way they have more options later on, such as switch out and then come back in, use Hidden Power Ghost. I think just because of Icy Wind, Stoic has such an advantage over the Salamence, though, Latias going for a Protect, Starmie going for a Protect, Earthquake coming in, and does Akiak explode? Akiak explodes, removing Tauros and turning into a 3-2 game. Akiak really needed Latias to not Protect. And now we have Starmie and Latias versus Salamence. And hate to say it, but because of the speed difference, Starmie, if it has, I believe it has Ice Beam. If it just Ice Beams into the Salamence, no, it's not revealed yet. It might not have Ice Beam. But if you Ice Beam into Salamence and Dragon Claw into Starmie, that's game. And that's absolutely unavoidable. So it depends on whether Stoic has Ice Beam on the Starmie or not. It looks really difficult for Akiak, especially with Starmie at -1 speed. We'll have to see if Stoic is running Ice Beam or is running something like Reflector Substitute. But it's really difficult for Salamence here. And Starmie goes for the Ice Beam, KOs the Salamence, and Latias KOs Starmie with the Dragon Claw. With that, Akiak has lost 0-2, Stoic has won the match, and with that, Team Japan went from 0-2 to a 3-2 victory. Congratulations to Team Japan. And with that, our exhibition is basically over. Oh my goodness, those were some good battles. Whew. And my voice is a little tired. Anyway, with that being said, we saw all those battles. Telu and Niko, if you'd like to join in, do you have any comments you'd like to make about how the tournament or the exhibition progressed? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Telu, do you have any comments about this exhibition?
Yeah, good game for both sides for first, and like, yeah, all the matches went for 2-0 and didn't go to the third match. So I wish we could see the third match and have more excitement. So maybe next time or something.
Yeah. If there's like a win and then a win and then a game 3, that would have been pretty exciting. I was very much hoping for for that to happen at some point, so that would be more hype, especially for match 5, Stoic versus Akiak. It would have been like really nice to be like the very final game. But in either case, it was just a very strong play from both sides. I think both sides fielded some very good players with some very good plays. I think personally, on my end, as a regular player of this format and debatably best player in the format, sorry, Niko. Probably one of the two of us. I am very impressed with the Japanese teams and playstyles. There were some very unorthodox teams, but even with like the more traditional teams, I saw like really strong plays. Sunad Dori's calling the Metagross switch out and going crunch, that was really amazing. I like that. And the way that Raikou, like the Hariyama Raikou game between Ohoho versus 44LM, like 44LM has been really on this Raikou team for so long that I designed and then he perfected. And just seeing Raikou get defeated by Raikou was sort of amusing. I think it's very strong play from all the players, and I appreciate everybody for participating, for putting aside the time. It's late. I think it's past midnight in Japan, right? And,
yeah, it is.
And in the US, the exhibition started like before sunrise. So
thanks everyone.
It started at like 5 o'clock in California and 8 o'clock in New York. So this was an incredible set, and I'm glad we were able to put this together. Incredible sets that we are able to have cross international interactions since we all love Generation 3 here. And whether it's on card or on simulator, we really love the game mechanics. We love the Pokemon themselves. We love the 386 that we all have access to. I really like this, and I'd love to see more of these players like show off their teams in the future. Any other? Wait, people can't hear you, Niko? Who has 4 Orre Cup wins? Yeah, honestly, I will admit, like, best player in the format is probably one of the two of us. I can't say it's definitely me because, again, you've won Orre Cup 10 and you have. Yeah. But I think just in terms of results, it's probably one of us, or it could be one of these. It could be one of these players who played today, and even though they may not have the accomplishments that you and I have, it will come in the future. Like show up, win another Orre Cup, win Mount Battle. Oh, speaking of which, a very big announcement for everybody here. Our server is hosting a league-style tournament where you play one round per day instead of it being a one-day tournament where you play like back-to-back. You get a week to schedule your match with your opponent. So if anybody watching the stream is interested, it's not a big time commitment. You just have to play for over a month, but it's only like one match per week, and then this will turn from like pools into a single elimination tournament. And so this is the option we have as a server for players to play. If they aren't able to commit like 6 hours in one day, they could just commit like 45 minutes every week, spread out. And then it also gets very interesting because whereas in live tournaments, we have to play open team sheet. So that way you can't scout your opponent's stuff. In Mount Battle, you're allowed to change your team every week, and it's closed team sheet best of 5. So you're allowed to run more surprises. You can run more surprises. So I'd like to invite anybody on the stream who's watching, if you're interested in playing Generation 3 doubles, join our tournament. It will be starting soon, probably this month. And especially to all the Japanese players who participated in this and who are watching at home, if you're interested in Generation 3 doubles, you don't have to worry about time zone differences because it would be only one battle per week. So again, announcing it here, Mount Battle 3 will be starting soon, and we look forward to all the high-level play and all the players. So you all have to look forward to that. With that, I think we can basically conclude the tournament, the exhibition. So I'd like to thank both of you, Niko and Telu, for helping put this together. And a special thanks to all the players for participating, for practicing, for preparing, and for putting in a good time. Any last words?
Thank you to everyone.
Niko, anything? Yeah. All right. That is all. It is past midnight in Japan, and the Americans have to start their day. So I think we can end now. Again, thank you to everybody, and we look forward to seeing you again. Bye.
Bye.